Who would have thought Australia looking at potential elimination in their final Super 8 game against India at St. Lucia on Maruti Suzuki Arena presents ESPN Cricinfo Timeout powered by Dishtv. Watcho. Aaron Finch in the Caribbean, who made the trip from Antigua to St. Lucia while this game was happening in St. Vincent and then caught up with how things were happening. What happened, Finchy?
Well, like I said the other day, I think if there was ever a surface that Afghanistan wanted to play Australia on, it was Vincent. We saw how much turn there was from the start. I mean, Ashton Agar come into the side for Mitchell Starc, and the wicket didn't get easier as the game went on. I think Australia, in the end, after a great opening partnership from Gurbaz and Zadran, Australia would have been pleased to keep them under 150, but it was always going to be a tough chase, and Gulbadine doing the rest was it was a great performance from Afghanistan.
It's rare to see Australia have a couple of games now, if I can throw in the Scotland one and now Afghanistan as well, where fielding isn't up to the mark. They don't look as polished a side as they usually are at T20 World Cups. Do you share that sentiment?
Yeah, absolutely. Is a real sign of commitment, and they were just sloppy. I think the game against Scotland probably started it. They were really sloppy in that game. They dropped 6 catches, and I think there was 5 opportunities last night off the top of my head, and that's very un-Australian. It's uncharacteristic, and I think there's probably some signs that there's some players in the group that are getting quite tired on the back of a long IPL and then coming straight to the Caribbean, and travel's not easy around the Caribbean. They're long days, some late starts and early flights, which is definitely not an excuse by any stretch of the imagination. So often in a T20 World Cup or any T20 tournament, fielding comes down to the small margins.
India would be looking at that game and thinking, all right, are we noticing perhaps a vulnerability or an area that we can exploit? Is there a specific area looking at India's skill set and the challenge that Australia have in the next one, Finchy?
Well, I think India would still back themselves to go in with the 3 spinners if the wicket here in St. Lucia plays the way that it has right throughout. And they look like they're structured the side up well, with Hardik being in decent form with the ball as well around. So that gives India so much flexibility to select a side that they think can exploit Australia. But I still expect them to go in with the 3 spinners.
What about Australia themselves then? As we look at the only day game at St. Lucia, night games have been high scoring, Finchy. The last game, South Africa, England, a 160 odd thriller, 163 for South Africa. They managed to defend it in dramatic fashion by 7 runs. And Australia did leave out Mitch Starc for Ashton Agar, like you said, who was economical. But looking at the conditions, what do Australia need to do with their squad?
Oh, I think they definitely bring a quick back in. It can be just really hard to get 8 overs of spin out, turning the ball the same way. So Agar and Zampa both right to left is difficult, especially with so much of a cross breeze across the West Indies as well. So unless Agar bowled a handful in the power play again like he did last night, then I see them going back to either Mitchell Starc or going to Cameron Green, where they can lengthen their batting as well, because I think that will be important. There's a case to say that if your top 7 don't get the job done with the bat, then number 8 doesn't have much of an impact either. But I think they're in a situation now where they need to go hard and put India under a lot of pressure, or be prepared to chase down a decent sized total on what, like you described, is a challenging wicket at times. They're not just at where you can walk out and hit it out of the park from ball 1. So I think Agar will probably go out just for the balance of the side, and whether that's Starc comes back in and Hazelwood makes way for Cameron Green. It'll be an interesting decision, but Australia can't afford to stand back and I guess be in this game.
That's a very interesting point you made. I was just going to come to that. You're still taking Cameron Green's name. It's now almost, we tend to think it's too late to make changes, but do you sense Green can still find a way at the expense of a Josh Hazelwood or a Tim David, if I could put his role under the scanner?
Oh, I think it'll probably be one of the quicks. I think the more that the tournament goes on, the more valuable runs are becoming. I think when the wickets are a little bit challenging, or they're on the slower side, I think your medium paces and like Green and Stoinis can bowl the overs of Hazelwood as well, because for example, if it's Starc and Cummins, they can bowl with the new ball, and then you've got Stoinis and Maxwell and Green that can fill in an over here and there throughout the power play if they need. And then you've got the opportunity to lengthen your batting and play 8 batters. And I just think batting has become a much more premium in the tournament now. I think the difference between pacer versus a great one, is lessened as well because of the wickets. So I think runs are still the premium, and I'd be prepared to go Cameron Green into the side and play 8 batters.
Fair enough. Now let's look at potentially 2 key phases and matchups in this game. One is certainly Head and Warner against Bumrah, whether they look to play him cautiously or take him on. And the other is what is Australia's approach against India's potentially 12 overs off spin that we may see. Finchy?
Well, Travis Head doesn't back off to any challenge. I don't think that there's ever, in any format of the game, very rarely says, you know what, I'll just see this spell through, or we'll take Bumrah. He'll try and fight fire with fire. Bumrah's on fire at the moment. Travis Head's had a really good World Cup as well, so that'll be a great battle. And as for the spin, I think Kuldeep, he's been someone who's challenged Australia in the past. I think Warner becomes a big part of that. He's somebody who plays spin really well, and Jadeja and Axar both spinning into the left-hander. I think his role becomes really important, trying to bat a little bit deeper into the innings and try and negate the turn. Because if you get hold of a couple of right-handers, then we know how good the left-arm spinners are. So that'll be a fascinating contest. Obviously, Maxwell won't challenge. He'll look to use his reverse. Stoinis is in really positive, confident form as well, so he'll try and take them on. There's not many options for Australia to sit back and say, you know what, let's get through this period of 3 or 4 overs. They have to be prepared to try and put a total on the board if they bat first, or on the flip side, come out all guns blazing if they bat second and have to chase a big total, which you'd assume that they would, because the Indian batting lineup is looking like it's starting to hit its straps, and Virat and Rohit getting runs at the top is really crucial for India. Rishad, he's such a counter-punching player and so important for India as well. And you've got Hart in good form, so it'll be a really good game. And I hope that the wicket is a decent one to provide a good contest between bat and ball.
No, I'm not hoping for that. But anyway, if they bat first or if they bat second, let's go to what they should do. Tom Moody mentioned at the end of the Afghanistan game, perhaps they'd look to regret the decision to put Afghanistan in after that St. Vincent game. India have won every game batting first in the Super 8s. What should Australia's strength be should Mitch Marsh win the toss?
Well, it's so hard. There's been quite a bit of rain around this morning, bucketing down this morning, but it comes and goes with some high winds. So it's hard to say first up without seeing the wicket for this match. If the scores go the way that they have in the past, then I think that you try and bat first and put the Indian batting lineup under some pressure. I think that then brings Adam Zampa into the game a little bit more. If Mitch had his chance again last night, would he have batted first? Probably. Purely based on how the wicket kept deteriorating throughout. I don't think it certainly didn't get any better under the lights. So, that'll be a tough consideration, but really hard to say until you've seen the wicket.
Sure. Favourites, Finchy?
India, I think, are favourites, absolutely. The way that they've been playing, the ability to play 3 spinners in the side is really crucial for them. Jasprit Bumrah, he's on fire. I mean, Australia, they'll still feel pretty confident. That was an average performance last night, particularly in the field. So,
just on that Bumrah point, just speaking to Anil Kumble before the Australia-Afghanistan game, and he said if both India and Australia would have qualified, maybe it's a chance for India to rest Bumrah. It's been 3 games in 5-6 days. Maybe bring in some of the other players, try and hold back some of your key players against Australia should you see them again in the final. Has the result against Afghanistan changed that completely? Would you, if you were in the Indian camp, say, we're playing our best team, we're going to try and knock Australia out of the tournament now while we can?
Absolutely. Yeah, you're 100%. You have to make the most of every opportunity to knock a big tournament favourite out of the great stage. And because the last thing you want to do is come up against Australia in a knockout game, which obviously this one is, but India having already qualified, I think it's absolutely the right way to go. It'll be a conversation that I'm sure that they're having. Do you tap Bumrah on the shoulder and say, how's your body? Because only he can really tell you that. And then I think if you say, you know what, we feel as though a freshen up for a day or so will do us the best going into the semi-finals, then absolutely you go that way. But I think that they'll be coming all guns blazing at Australia and trying their best to knock them out.
Finchy, let's talk at the end of the game. Am I right to say that the Australia-Afghanistan game was the only one that you did not cover from the ground, and perhaps therefore they need you?
That's right. Yes, that's right. We can say that.
Yeah, they need you there. They need you there, Finch. You're going to be at St. Lucia. Let's chat at the end of it. Thank you very much to Aaron Finch. And that wraps up an Australian angle to this preview on Maruti Suzuki Arena Presents ESPN Cricket for Timeout, powered by Dishtv. Watcho.
Introducing the epic new Swift. Time to go swifting.
वॉचो ऐप पे देखो एक OTT के दाम पे सारे OTT शान से।
Watcho.